When you die, what will your tombstone say? Rest in peace or rest in power? Think about it. For centuries, rest in peace was the norm, an acceptance of stillness, of endings. But more recently, we've seen a shift. People say rest in power, a declaration of legacy, impact, purpose, even after death. So this question isn't just about what happens when you're gone. It's about how you live right now, your worldview, whether consciously or subconsciously, it's going to define your final destination. And that destination drives everything. Every religion, every spiritual school, every well-crafted philosophy starts with one thing: a promise. The hope of a better life, a greater outcome, something to strive forward. The hope that shapes lives. It shapes decisions, and most importantly, it shapes destinies. So tonight we're going to be diving deep. We'll explore how your final destination, whether it's peace, power, or something else, defines your journey, your choices, and your ability to align with your true purpose. So if this resonates, or you're curious, you can subscribe now, because it's going to be the first of a 4-part series. So hit that notification bell so you don't miss future live streams, and let's uncover the truth together right here, right now. Cool. So here's an introduction to the infinite design. So I'm calling it the infinite design. Here's my symbol, here's my sign. And the optimal union, experiencing illumination infinitely. So I'm not going to argue for why you should think that you are an infinite soul, but that's basically where I'm starting. I'm starting off with the assumption every philosophy, every science endeavor, every single thing starts off with an assumption. So science starts off of a hypothesis. Every religion starts off with faith. You have to believe in it. So once you understand that, you understand that all the truths require faith, require your belief. There are no absolutes at the beginning when it comes to building a philosophy. So my philosophy is built on foundations like any other philosophy or way of life or worldview. And so my one starts with, really, the soul is infinite. Nothing else, nothing dies in the universe. It only transforms. So once you understand that, you start thinking about time differently. So you can already see how the cause of you being an infinite, or the belief in you being infinite, will completely shift how you look at time. So if you thought, your time was finite to, let's say, 50, 60 years, that's going to shape your brain. It's going to shape your worldview. It's going to shape how you move. Yeah. So the Infinite Design series is essentially about how you create a worldview that allows you to win, that allows you to live your best life in a nutshell. So that's what this is. That's what this whole design series is about. So what I've done basically is I've built, let's make that a bit bigger so people can see a bit more. All right, cool. So I've built 5 notes / tools / workbooks / lessons that are going to allow you to create your own universe. That's going to allow you to create your own worldview. So from when we were 1 year old, or when we were babies, our mother gave us a worldview. Then the school gave us a worldview. Everybody gave us a worldview. Then you get a bit older, you start picturing the worldview for yourself. You start picturing you start getting your own ideas, your own beliefs. Yeah. So this is part, and then these get programmed into your DNA, gets programmed into your way of life. And what I've basically worked out is that people lack a purpose, and People lack purpose because they lack clarity in how they see the world. So the world is a very confusing place, obviously. The world is a very, very, very confusing place. We understand that. And so as you're trying to piece all of these things together, and remember, we're in the age of information, the age of Aquarius, we're in the age of information overload. So it's not too little ideas, it's too many ideas. And how are we able to discern? How are we able to work out the ideas that are correct for us? So many times people will hold two ideas with an opposing view, completely contradictory, and they'll hold them with almost the same value. And 1 minute they'll make a decision based on the value or based on this one contradiction, and then the next day be presented with almost exactly the same options and make a different decision, because they're able to rationalize and justify it in their mind because they're not clear on how they see the world. Your eyes are linked to your brain. So how you think is how you see. And so for me, when I'm this kind of goes back to a story about 3 to 4 months ago, when I basically built this whole how to build your blueprint. And I was like, and also I came out with a course, and I was just like, and I was like about 10 people, if I could answer any question, or if you could speak to God, I basically just posted like this: if you could speak to God, what would be that one question you would ask him? And 9 out of 10 people said, what's my purpose? So I'm like, okay, cool, my app can do that. But then I felt really uncomfortable telling people what their purpose was. That was basically what it came down to. I was like, it just made me so uncomfortable telling people what their purpose was, or even having conversations with people's purpose, because I felt something was missing. And I'll get to that a bit later. But essentially, one of the things that I felt was missing was people's lack of clarity, or the reason why they wanted to know their purpose is because they're living a life which is basically directionless. It doesn't have that full vigor. And so they live life kind of like half-heartedly, kind of half-heartedly, never fully going into something because they're not fully clear with their vision. Their vision is like hazy, misty. And so this is not for me to say that my vision is more true than yours. It's not for me to tell you what to believe. It's to, this whole series essentially is to get you to think coherently. So I'll let the cat out of the bag early, basically. You define your truth. You create your own world. You create your own universe. This, and I can prove this scientifically. I'm not going to go too much into the science, but essentially, this was the big epiphany: is that life is what you make it. That's why it's so simple. That's why I can do it simply now, because all of the epiphanies and the insights, it's so simple. Literally, life is what you make it. You are the center of your own universe, and life is what you make it. You are the creator of your own destiny. And again, like I said, I might go into the science of to like prove it, and just like this quantum physics, and yeah, basically you have to go into quantum physics and some metaphysics as well, like to tie them in, to just show you how time isn't really what you think it is, or what most people think it is. But again, I've got to build up in layers, so I don't want to detract too much from my main point, which is, until you get clarity about how you see the world, you'll never have a focus, you'll never have a purpose. You're going to be some wishy-washy, half-hearted person that kind of just blows with the wind, which is how, you know, a lot of people that come to me present themselves. And then I'm very like granular. Everyone knows I'm very granular and nuanced. So I'll often spend that first hour just asking them questions. And all I'm really doing just naturally is just breaking down their logic of how they think. So how did you get to this? How did you make this decision? Why did you do that? and I'll often find, in varying degrees, people whose logic just doesn't stack up. Like A and B is not making C, or A and B made C, but it definitely didn't make D. And somewhere along the line, this level of coherence, this level of clarity, it fell off because of disillusion, because of ignorance, because of lack of belief, all of these things that I'm going to present today in terms of how to actually build a system that is coherent. So all my aim is essentially is to allow people to build a system that is coherent, that makes sense, that works for them. And then my question will be, well, then what is the fruits of your labor? What is your production? What is your productivity? Because if your destiny is powerful, you should see signs along the way. You should see signs along the way of progress. Maybe not like, obviously you might have this massive big goal, in terms of like a final destination, but you should be able to track the progress, and you should be able to work out the narrative in your mind, basically. So the first layer of truth is the narrative truth, i.e. your mythology. So everyone needs to understand that they're the hero of their own story. And one level of clarity is when you can understand your journey in alignment with the cosmos, in alignment with source, in alignment with God, whatever name you feel to use. I use all of them interchangeably, and many more. The creator. So that's essentially what this series does, what this series will allow you to do. And this is going to be a major thing that I'm going to be doing, because everything fits within my worldview. So what I'm going to be doing on this video is also sharing my worldview. So I'm going to be sharing how I see the world logically. And again, it's not for me to try to indoctrinate you to follow. It's actually to challenge your own beliefs, actually, is one of the kind of subtext reasons. Is, okay, so what is my worldview, and how does that stack up against someone who says that they've got a coherent worldview? So I'm actually saying that my worldview is pretty coherent. I could explain it for hours upon hours upon hours. This is me. I could do it for days, literally. So that's not to say that you have to do it for days. It's just that you have to be able to point out the key points, or these things that I'm calling optimal primes, these key things that are like the hub of your system, the key components to your system, where if this one thing breaks down, then this other thing doesn't work. That's what coherence would be. It would be like, okay, something happened in science, or something happened in my life where I got an epiphany, and this thing wasn't quite right. Many times that one thing not being right it means that you may have to readjust some other cogs in order to make the system coherent again. This is why it's so difficult, because some people, they just don't have the time to really work these things out, and they leave their system broken. And essentially, this whole science is, if you wanted to start Googling this stuff and researching it yourself, system design, information theory. This is kind of the area that we're playing with here, from a science level, from a architecture level. It's basically systems theory. So the most ardent people in that, they'll say, you are the model, you are the system, you are nothing more than a system. So your being, whatever this thing that you call the self, that self is a system. And so once you start understanding yourself as a system, you start understanding what are the key components that make up a system. You're able to start fine-tuning. You get to a level where it's, okay, cool, I'm going to spend a month or two meditating, contemplating, working with myself, whatever. So you build this like base template, and then you throw it out into the real world, and then you start testing it. Because life has a funny way of telling you that you're completely wrong. Or it has a funny way of confirming that you're right. but it's going to throw things at you. So you build your system and then you put it out to test. It's like peer review. It's like in science where they peer review something. They write a paper, they put it out to the public, and people either criticize it or they'll say they love it. You know, this is basically what life is doing. Life is testing you chisel by chisel, or, you know, blade by blade. That's what life is doing. It's trying to chisel. It's trying to construct this view of self, which is coherent, so it can rest. Yeah. All right, cool. So, all right. So just quickly. So we've got the 5 areas, or these 5 documents. The infinite you, which is about understanding the construct. Then we've got the stimulation theory, which is my theory on creation. So this was the epiphanies and this kind of revelation that I got about 3 months ago in terms of like just how the universe works, basically. And I've called it stimulation theory. And then the infinite O. So that's what that was me coming back from Thailand and just getting this download, this download that just put the cherry on top, let's just say. And then the infinite I is basically how you work with order, and the infinite X is how you work with chaos. So in my stimulation theory, I'm basically saying that you have to build a system that works with chaos and build a system that works with order. This is crucial, because what I was finding is that when I was speaking to people about their system, most people would say that their life is good when it's ordered, but had no system for when the world is in chaos, or when chaos came to their door. They had no real coherent system that was actually working, because they always saw chaos as destructive, essentially. And that's one of the clues to tell me that you're not really seeing life for what it is, like what life is actually trying to do to you. So that's what basically this 4-part or this 5-part series is going to be. And so today's obviously just mainly covering like an introduction, and then we're going to get into the infinite you and a bit of stimulation theory, and then these 3 will be definitely left for another video. So I'll do one on each potentially. So it's going to be either 3 or 4 parts, but again, you know, me and Speed, we'll see how we get on. So yeah, each model addresses different aspects of existence, weaving together concepts from philosophy, psychology, quantum physics, ancient wisdom traditions to create a unified understanding of self and the universe as all as self. All right, so this is basically the creation story, the model of the universe, how I've created it. So as I said, every religion, every philosophy, especially every religion, has a promise. Think about it. Why would you be a Christian for unless you wanted to go to heaven? Why would you want to be a Buddhist for unless your destination, or unless you desired nirvana? Yeah. So what we're saying is that each religion holds as its gift or its reward for obedience, adherence to that religion, is a promise. And in that promise is normally a vision of a transcendental being, transcendence. So you are like this sinful soul, this wretched soul, this suffering soul, this not self person, and you follow our steps, you follow our method, our methodology, i.e. our model, our way of thinking. You follow that path through by doing what we say, and you will reach this destination, which I'm calling the promise, which in some religions would be Jannah, heaven, nirvana, for example. So that's really clear on the religious side. And I work with a lot of people that are not religious, that will call themselves spiritual. So in religion, it's very ordered. Clearly, these are books. They go back thousands of years. It's a specific doctrine, especially if you follow a specific denomination within a religion. It's very clear what that methodology, or I would hope it would be clear. Religion should bring clarity. That's why religious people, for me, have more stability. Whereas even today, I was having a conversation with one of my friends who's like a spiritual practitioner, and she's speaking about the frustration with spiritual people, how they're so flaky. It's like they don't have no center. A lot of their clients just don't have no center. And the more spiritual they call themselves, the more chaotic they seem to be. She was just relaying this anecdotal experience. Obviously, this is just her personal experience. And it makes sense because there's no, if you call yourself spiritual, where is your Bible? Where is your Quran? Where is your Torah? You know, where is your anchor point? Where is your centering point? So you basically have to build these frameworks yourself. And that's what basically say on the spiritual path. You know, at some point, you're going to listen to someone where they're saying, okay, there are no truths. You're going to have to build your own path. You're going to have to like navigate it yourself. But then even then, it's like, well, what is the promise? Because everyone's saying that there's different promises. Like, am I going to go to the fifth dimension? Am I going to go to the astral plane? Am I going to go and see my ancestors? You know, am I going to turn into light? All of these things, you know, are mentioned within, you know, spiritual circles in those conversations. And there's not, you know, one cohesive way, because it's not in what I'm trying to say is the spiritual community is very splintered and fractured. You could argue that is in all religions as well, because obviously there's denominations, there's 50 denominations easily of Christianity. I could probably name 10 or 15, and I'm not a Christian. So, you know, all religions have their denominations. You know, I've just been to Thailand. There's you know, I went to 3 different types of monasteries based on their denominations. You know, they've all got different opinions about certain things, slight differences, but at least there's more cohesion, you could say. You know, some of the big stuff they agree with, and they don't agree on some of the big stuff as well, but there's more cohesion. So again, it's just real simple. If you call yourself spiritual, what is your promise? What is your destination? Anyone in the chat? I don't know how many people are in the chat. It's decent. We got decent numbers, bro. Yeah, I'm so happy, man. Got some numbers, man. Yeah, so yeah, put in the chat. That's our first question, man. Like, just in the shortest, most thing, what is your destination? What is the promise that you think is owed to you if you follow the spiritual path that you've created for yourself? Yeah, I would love to know in the chat. So anyway, obviously I've got my own model. Now, I'll just say it again. Who am I? Just another guy with an opinion. You know, I don't really need to say anything more than that. You have to experience some of these things that I'm speaking about, quite honestly, to really get it. But, you know, the wise only need a hint as well, which is what I always say. So we keep it moving. So you've got this model. Now, I'm not going to go for this. Today is not about me going through this model in full detail and in full depth, because I feel like that would be hours. And so this is just to give you a flavor of essentially what we're doing. So we're basically saying it starts at creation. So life starts at creation. You could call it the Big Bang. I'm not calling it the Big Bang, by the way, but I'm just saying, you know, that would be someone's interpretation. So we're just saying creation happens, life exists. That is the first principle. So my first hypothesis is that life exists. My first assumption is just to, I think, therefore I am. Creation, essentially. And then we've got the stimulation theory, which I'll get onto. This is just like kind of like what life is about. It's basically just what I see life is about. So I will get into that a bit today. And then I'm basically saying that every religion starts off with a belief. Every religion starts off with a belief. It's undeniable. Every religion has to start off with a belief and faith, because we go from unknowing to knowing. This is like wisdom. This is the journey. This is the wisdom. This is like how you gain knowledge. This is how you grow. Yeah, the spiritual journey. You would go from a place of unknowing, or you can call it revelation, because, you know, some people say that our souls always knew, and it was just about remembering, or some people may say it's about remembering, you know. So again, all of these terms I'm comfortable with, but essentially it started with faith. Even that there is a statement is, well, we're just remembering, we knew this before. That was a belief. That wasn't confirmed. You heard that, you intuited it, you realized it, but it wasn't confirmed. So in my world, I'm clear. You either know or you don't know. There's no in between. You can assume, you can intuit. These are different words. Intuit is not know. Intuit is intuit. If it was no, it would be that word. So with an intuition, it's more of a feeling. Whereas with a knowing, it's an experience at its highest level, or reasoned and rationalized at the level below. So just to be clear in terms of how you can actually know something. To truly know something, you must experience it. That is the highest level of knowledge. And I'm basically saying, in my system, which I've not created, obviously I've not created this term oneness, but I'm basically saying that the universe is one. So my belief is that the universe is one. You know, I've had experiences that I feel are oneness, or what they write about in the books of oneness, where I'm like, raw shit, this is what they mean. You know, really profound, really amazing, life-changing stuff, or life-confirming stuff, life-affirming stuff, self-actualization. Why not? You know, it's a really good thing to experience. So I believe, you know, I got a taste of oneness, let's just say, and that has confirmed my belief, strengthened my belief. But it was definitely me reading about oneness and rationalizing it first, which is the level below. You can rationalize something, but I wouldn't call that. You could still call that a belief. You would just have a strong sense of a belief because you can explain it. But it's the direct experience where it truly goes from an unknown into the known. So obviously it's a scale, and the rationalized, the reasonalized, you know, other people confirming it has no influence, really, to be honest. We live in a consensus reality. It does make it true. So yeah. So again, this is not a conversation about oneness. I've already done a masterclass on oneness. I've already got a workshop on oneness, you know, that people have experienced, that, you know, I have in my vault, basically. So that's not what today's about. And then basically, so this was inspired by the Buddhist text. So we'll edit that out. Don't know how that happened. Oh, cool. Cool. All right. So I go to Thailand, and I'm going to see my brother who is a monk. This is the story. I'm going to see my brother who's a monk. I'm going with my mum. So I'm really just going there to just meet family. Everyone's also like, oh, you're going to be time as a monk. I'm going in a monastery, but my genuine intention is just to spend time with my family and just enjoy seeing my brother who I've not seen for many years. So I'm not trying to go there to get a spiritual revelation. This is basically what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to go there to get a spiritual revelation. The only thing I did say to people is that it would be nice to come back with the skill of meditation. That was it. That's all I said. Nothing else. Anything else is just a bonus, you know. So when I come back, I write 6 things that I learned. Like, I wanted to write down my reflections on the trip, and I only wrote down 6 things. It was like a couple of words each sentence, like bullet points. And I looked at them, I was like, oh, they weren't revelationary. they were kind of cool, but you know, I read books. You guys know that, you know, I study hard on this kind of stuff. So I don't feel like it was that much more profound than, you know, what I would do in my normal 10 days of just, you know, being in this world in which I'm always in almost. So, and then I didn't want to get my laptop out. So basically, I didn't want to get my laptop because I was just like really in that, you know, holiday vibes, just coming back, whatever. And then 3 days later or 4 days later, something just hit me, just like almost out of nowhere, just hit me. And I wrote down it was basically the only thing that motivated me. This was the key. I was in rest mode. I was in actual still holiday vibes, even though I had to come back. And so the only thing that motivated me to, outside of writing these 6 bullet points, which I did on the first or second day, took me about 5 seconds to do and left it, was yeah, the only thing that motivated me to get my laptop out or to get my like notebook out to actually write something down was basically what you're seeing now in this model. So I'm reading this book, which I was going to show you, which made me drop the screen. It was around here. It's around here somewhere, but yeah, I don't know. I can't remember where I put it. But anyway, whatever. There's this book basically that had this cycle of, similar to like what I've done, but basically it had the cycle of cause and effect from a Buddhist perspective. And essentially it talks about suffering. So they say suffering happens, in a nutshell, suffering happens due to desire. This is like the Buddhist way, if you've ever heard about it. It's suffering happens because of this clinging onto your desires. Is more, if it's going to be a bit more nuanced. It's a whole book on it. And then the cause and effect of that, essentially. So you have desire, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. So it's a whole chain, and there's about 12, no, there are 12 steps in it. And so when I'm reading that, I was like, the only thing I was saying to the Buddhist was like, you know, I had a few areas of contention, basically, a few areas where I wanted to just share my disagreement of like why I don't agree with Buddhism. This is basically what I want to do, or just maybe just some issues that I weren't sure of. So these are the things of like, you know, just basically asking questions in a nutshell. So anyway, I come back with more of an understanding of Buddhism, but still like this feeling of certain levels of uncomfortableness, which is all cool. You know, I'm used to it. It's a nice feeling to have to work on. But my whole point is that when I was reading their 12 steps of cause and effect, it didn't fully resonate with me. And I had obviously just built my model for the world, which I'll show, which is the stimulation theory. And so I was like, oh, I could do this. I've already got the components because my stimulation theory is pretty deep. It goes quite deep. So I was like, I could do this. And I'm not joking, within 1 minute, I had wrote out 20 steps. Just boop, 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 boop. 20 steps. Not in this particular order. It wasn't as ordered as this coherently, but I had about 90% of this order. I literally had about 90% of it first go within a minute. And I looked at it and it was just like mind blowing to just see the level of coherency of how I see this cause and effect. And so because oneness is basically my driver, like anyone that knows me, you know, oneness is my driver, well, then suffering would then have to come from separation. The illusion, and what I would call the illusion of separation. So to be more of the point. So already you can see the coherence. You have oneness as my core beliefs, the core thing that drives my prime system, that drives my system at the prime, at the center, is my belief in oneness. Because I believe in oneness, the cause to suffering must be separation, with the problem being duality. So again, I'm not, you can use this model if oneness is in your top 5, in your top 3, then this is a model, you know, that you can work with. If it's your number 1, you can work with this model. Like this model is I don't want to say flawless, but it's coherent. It is extremely coherent. Yeah. In my opinion, if you don't, I'd love for you to challenge it. I would love for people to challenge it. I would love it. And just check the chat as well. See if people are putting anything in the chat. Boom, boom, boom. People are in. Oh, loving it. All right, cool. So, so duality is the problem. If anyone wants me to explain any of this, I don't mind explaining it a little bit, but these are not really big words. So I'm just going to assume people know what these concepts are. These are kind of like medium level concepts. If you're obviously brand new to spirituality, just like a baby, you may not know these concepts, but you know. So we've got duality. So their one didn't even, their model didn't have these ones in the brackets as well either. So I'm basically saying that my first principle is creation. The model is stimulation theory, which I'll show you later. My belief is oneness. So their one didn't have these kind of concepts, like categorizations, these further categorizations. And the key thing with this model is that I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. So if I had to reduce something down to its essence, what would it be? That's the key to this model. So even though there's 20 steps, it's literally just 20 words. My whole model is based on 20 words, or this whole cause and effect is based on 20 words, which is not that much. So we've then got separation, which is the suffering, which then goes into the problem of duality. We then go into know thyself, which is the purpose. So I'll show you in the stimulation theory, but I'm essentially saying that the reason why we are born is to know thyself. The reason why we are born is to know thyself. I feel like I want to explain this. I really need to show the stimulation theory because I knew either whichever way around I showed it, it wasn't going to make sense. But yeah, we'll get there. Just be patient with me, people. Please be patient. We'll get there. But yeah, the key is to know thyself. I'll explain that later. That's all in the stimulation theory. And then it's to create meaningful connections. So once we've got meaningful connections, once we've got a purpose, we then have a desire. So the purpose is what drives our desire. And so what I'm basically saying is all of these people, all of these 10 people, I know it's a small sample size, but literally 9 out of 10 people, I want to know my purpose. I want clarity on my purpose. What's my purpose? You know, in varying degrees. I'm saying that they could see themselves as being not fully committed like that. When you got that divine will in you, when you got that Holy Spirit in you, it's like nothing stands in your way. You are unstoppable. You're unbreakable, unshakable, and unstoppable. That's what a purpose does. When you don't have that, you either don't have the purpose or you don't have the skill to navigate. So it's one that is basically just one or two things. It comes down to skill, or it comes down to lack of purpose. Oh, and also lack of will. Like you don't have the courage. Like you're just weak. But I would even then say that your purpose should be so empowering that even though because courage doesn't mean you don't fear. Courage means you fear and you still do it. So it's not about that. It's about how they move forward, the clarity and the righteousness in which they move forward with, which is what a purpose gives you. So I'm basically saying that in order to know thyself, you need to create meaningful connections. Meaningful connections is the key. This is going to be a key. This is going to be one of those reoccurring ones that I'm going to be teaching, that I'm going to be showing people how to do. This is where, because you'll start seeing it, but this is where, like later up, you'll start to see synchronicity comes in. How do you make meaningful connections? Because I kind of reverse engineered it. I was just looking at my life and I was just like, what am I really interested in? And clearly the thing that I talk about that I bore people to death with is synchronicity. Like, oh, I had this thing happen today and I just said this, I just saw this, and then this thing happened, boom, 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 boom. All right, so I'm sharing my screen, so I don't think that makes sense. All right, cool. Could someone put in the live chat if they could see me, or if my screen is fully shared, or can they see me as well? Because again, I'm just using this for the first time, so I don't actually know. But yeah, could someone just put in the chat if they can see me? Because my phone's just went dead, even though it's on charge. So I need a faster charger. You hear me on so many levels. But can you see me though? Can you see? Are you seeing clearly? No, I'm joking. Can you see me, or are you just seeing the screen? So are you just seeing this this screen move up and down now, or can you actually see me as well? Because if you can't see me, then I'm going to be staying in the presentation anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, my phone has went dead even though it was charging, so that's quite weird. But yeah, it's probably the power of the camera. Just killing my battery. All right, cool. Anyway, we keep it moving. So you're frozen to me. Okay, so people were seeing me. Okay, cool. So I will then charge my thing. Sai, can you do me a favor? If you are still watching, or if you can still hear this, Sai, can you do me a favor and just bring me a charger? The plug. So I've got the wire. I just need the plug. Thank you. All right, cool. So meaningful connections. So I'm about synchronicity. So this system only works if you understand oneness. If you understand that the universe, everything in the universe is interconnected. Everything in the universe is one. This only works. This whole system will break down at the belief stage. This is what I'm trying to say. You guys need to focus on what you believe. Like anyone that's taken my blueprint course or heard me speak about my blueprint course, the first exercise is just a simple list. I'll give it to you for free. You do a simple list. You write, you get a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper or lined piece of paper. You draw one line in the middle and you write the word no, and you write the word don't know. That's all you do. And all you're going to do is from a spiritual, metaphysical, let's say spiritual level. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, babes. All you're going to do is from a spiritual level, because obviously we want to kind of focus on spiritual stuff. Obviously, that's what we do. Philosophy, that kind of stuff. You're going to write out the things that you know. And when we say no, like 100%, like what are the things that I know without no doubt? And what are the things that I don't know that I think I need to know in order to have a purpose? In order to have a purpose that is 100% clear. Because like I said, well, like I'm going to say, a 1% doubt will mess up your magic. I normally swear when I say that. But yeah, 1% doubt is completely difference between your magic working and it not working, between your manifestations working and it not working, between your life being in chaos and being in order. Just because of 1% lack of clarity. So as I've been using recently, I've been saying that Usain Bolt will pay £5 million to go 0.1% faster. There's this guy that's trying to live forever. He spends £6 million a year. He's not trying to live forever, but he's just trying to live a long life. He spends £6 million on his lifestyle, on his food, on his like gym, this kind of stuff. This Bryan Cranston guy. He spends £6 million. Now, obviously, he's got the money, but again, it's about ratio and importance. It's about intensity. So I'm saying that Usain Bolt is going to put everything on the line in order to get a marginal gain, because that's the difference between winning and losing. That's the difference between knowing and not knowing. Yeah, winning, losing, knowing, not knowing. Yeah. And I'm basically saying that and especially in my system, where know thyself is paramount, is the paramount purpose, where then knowledge is the most sacred thing. Knowledge is the most sacred thing. Yeah. Love is the answer. Love is the answer. No surprise. Love comes in at number 8. Everyone was waiting for where it was, hopefully. Unconditional love. Yeah, I have stories about this one, but yeah, I won't go into get too personal. But yeah, let's just say about 4 years ago now, me understanding unconditional love and what it truly meant, and the fact that yeah, I couldn't bullshit my way out of it. I can't just love selectively. I can't just choose who I love if I really want to achieve this thing of oneness. It's not possible. It's not possible. Not to the level that I'm speaking about. Because I'm not speaking about a 10% kind of thing or 20% thing. I'm talking about elite level. One of the most simple things I read in the book when I was in Thailand was one of my 6 things I wrote down. They was just so simple, the lessons. Buddhist lessons are real simple. Just, do you see yourself as an amateur or a professional? When it comes to the spiritual life, this is kind of how I reinterpret it as well. But like, do you see yourself as an amateur or a professional? Because the way that an amateur lives in any sport, in any walk of life, is completely different to a way that a professional lives. They're playing the same game. They're literally playing the same game with the same rules, but they live it completely different. And so when I'm talking and I'm hoping to work with people, I'm hoping to work with people that want to be elite. There's no way to there's no way to cut it. I want to work with people that see themselves as elite. They value themselves at an elite level. This is not a money thing. This is a mindset thing. Please, please, please believe me. We're talking about mindset. I want to work with people that see themselves as elite, or at least believe that they can be elite. And so that word unconditional love scares most people. When I start talking about unconditional love, I get so much like pushback. Pushback from it. So I'm not here today to justify why unconditional love is the way, but you know, if that can resonate with your heart, you know, let that sit with you. And if it doesn't sit with your heart, you know, just challenge yourself. Why do I feel so uncomfortable about unconditional love? I thought I should only love this one thing, this one way, this one person. How about trying to love the ones that you wouldn't dare? That's a little key there. That's one of my well, so it isn't a song. One of my favorite song of the last year. Like, it's not even an R&B. It's not even in my genre of music, but the lyrics were just the best lyrics I've ever heard, probably. And she has this one line: "Love the ones you don't dare." Incredible, incredible. Love the ones you don't dare. Imagine that. Try that. Like, again, you know, this isn't full about exercises, but try that as an exercise for one day. That person that you hate, how could I love them? See what happens to you. So, modulation. That's probably the only big word in here, really. Modulation. It just means mode. I could have used the word mode, but modulation is the actual word. Like, modulation is the actual word. So, what I'm basically saying is that in this universe, you have wavelengths, you have frequencies, you have vibration. And so modulation is about understanding your bandwidth. Again, I'm being really good today. I'm trying to actually not use big words like bandwidth, but basically that's like the frequency in your range. That was the word. I think I used a really good word already. What is your range? So heart rate variability. I'll just explain what that is. I'll just explain. Yeah, no, thank you very much. My screen is still frozen because I'm charging my phone. Yeah, this charger. Yeah, so the lesson for today's one is that I need 2 chargers because this will charge us power. The charger that charges my laptop is the powerful charger, but okay, yes. Actually, no, I've worked it out. I think I don't know. Let's see. So anyway, Definitely don't want a laptop to die. All right, cool. Yeah, so we may not get the video back today. It is what it is. It is what it is. So so I'm actually seeing if there's a way to actually get rid of my the camera bit. But yeah, again, I don't want to press. Yeah, it's fine. I don't want to divert. I don't want to divert. All right, cool. Oh yeah, if you can hit that like button as well. Oh yeah, that's it. That's what they say on the streams, isn't it? Yeah, if they hit that like button, we've got 9 likes at the moment. We just get that to full likes, man. Come on, man. It's family, friends and family, man. Get up to the full likes. So, all right, cool. Let's go back. So, what we're basically saying with this particular model or modulation is that there is a range of experiences that you can experience in this world, and it comes down to your focus. So your energy is only as powerful as your ability to redirect and compress your focus. Basically, that's essentially what it comes down to, i.e. your attention. So the most valuable in a universe that is mental, everyone should have heard this one by now, in a universe that is mental, the only thing of value is your attention. That's one of my lines. In a universe that is mental, in a universe that is mental, the only thing of value is your attention. So yeah, it's about focus. It is literally about focus. So again, all of these things, what I'm probably going to be doing as well, by the way, is probably going to be doing a mini series on each one of these points. So I'll probably do like a half-an-hour video on what modulation is, a half-an-hour video. So it'll be much shorter than what today is, but it'll be like a half-an-hour video on unconditional love, like what I would call a medium length kind of video, basically. So that's what I'm actually looking to do. Maybe straight after this series. I'm not sure. Most likely going to be straight after this series. Depends on obviously the feedback of the first 3 or 4 videos that I do. All right, cool. So then we go to observation and absorption. We then go to observation and absorption, which is the technique. So this is like very Buddhist terminology. But you're either basically fully absorbed or you're observing yourself. So when we say you're multi-dimensional, we're basically saying that you've got 2 abilities. You've got the ability to observe and you've got the ability to experience or embody or absorb. Your attention. So then the skill, we're saying that the skill is discernment. So this was my big one about 9 months ago, when I was just like, it really just comes down to poor life choices. When I'm assessing people and I'm just working out how they got to where they are, it basically just comes down to poor life choices. Not always, but you know, obviously we're given certain cards, but most people just don't play the cards in the most optimal manner because life is really tough and it's difficult to make right decisions in all of this chaos or seemingly chaos. So I'm not saying it's hard, but I'm basically saying that the skill that you want to develop is discernment. The observation and the technique you want to develop is observation and absorption, which then leads to the method. So your method for life, if know thyself is basically what you're about, is wisdom. So where was unconditional love? That was the way. Where was wisdom? There was no way I was ever going to build a system that didn't have unconditional love and wisdom as key components. And so I'm saying you're getting discernment, you're getting observation and absorption to build your wisdom. That's what builds your wisdom, is those 2 things, which then allows you to see the truth. So what do I know? What do I not know? It then allows you to see the truth. So wisdom allows you to build the value, which is truth. So your attention, when I said that the attention is the most valuable thing, can kind of rephrase it, because that attention leads to the truth, or the clarity of your attention. Let's just say the clarity of your attention through your wisdom dynamic leads you to your having an ability to see the truth. So if you don't have the skill of discernment, you're a poor truth teller. If you don't have wisdom, you don't have truth. If you don't have the ability, or if you don't cultivate the ability or the technique to observe, you're going to struggle with the truth. So these are the components that build up to the truth. And then from that, you become unfazed. So from seeing the truth, your becoming is unfazed. So this is where this modulation thing comes in. That one links extremely well with number 9, which is your focus. So it's your ability to experience life as an unfazed observer. This is where observation comes in. So you only, once you master observation, you then master becoming unfazed. If you master absorption, you won't master becoming unfazed, because you're always going to be kind of going with the wind. So you need to have this balance of absorption and observation. You have to master both, basically. Both techniques have to be mastered. And yeah, I'll be able to tell a lot in how you speak. I'll be able to tell a lot in how you speak based on whether you're an observer or an absorber. Are you more of an observer or more of an absorber? So these are like just checks and balances. And then I'm basically saying that the tools are now, everything here is basically universal to oneness, based on my belief on oneness. Yeah, I don't have to justify creation. We exist. I think, therefore I am. My theory is my theory. It's basically based on the principles of oneness. It just basically just shows you how oneness actually works, like why it's actually true. So we're saying that from this oneness, all of these things up to phase 14, I would say, is what I would call universal truths, or a universal framework for allowing you to experience oneness. But these ones from here, if I'm being real honest, are my own personal. I'm so locked into like divination and synchronicity that I'm not sure if I can be unbiased in even this statement to say that you wouldn't, that because you know there's many roads that lead to Rome, there's many roads that lead to home. So I feel like I'm too biased. So I have to just clarify that I love divination, I love synchronicity. I can argue that they're really important, but I could easily say that divination is, for me, is just a tool. And the tool is never more powerful than the man. So I've got this line: the man is always more powerful than the method. The man is always more powerful than the tool. So it's what I'm able to do with divination, why I love divination. Because some other people, they're not really getting receipts. They can't really show you receipts from it. I can show you receipts from divination. It works for me. So obviously I've got to teach what works as well at some points. So this one is a little bit personal. It's not for everyone's cup of tea. It's cool. Again, I'm not trying to indoctrinate you to anything. So, but yeah, for me, it works a treat. So my main tool is divination, which then opens up the gift of synchronicity. And synchronicity is basically, I would say, that is universal for seeing the oneness. I've never really heard anyone that speaks about oneness that doesn't talk about synchronicity. For me, they go hand in hand. But again, I'm open to be led that it's not so universal, and that there are other things that you could do that could lead to oneness, or other gifts that lead to oneness. Again, this is one word. Clearly, I could use 5 gifts. I could use 5 tools. I could use 5 becomings. I could use 5 values. But we're trying to go for the most optimal prime. Optimal prime transformers, the one. Synchronicity. Do you want to go about? Let's just go there now, real quick. Real quick. I've produced this the same week that Transformers 1 comes out in the UK. So Transformers, I'm in the car driving, and I'm like, I'm trying to get to reductionism. So reductionism is the technique where you reduce things down to its essence, basically. So the philosophical, scientific technique, reducing things down to its essence. And so I'm in the car, I've just built this 20 thing framework, not like this, but I just wrote them out in like bullet points, basically. I never put it on this chart. And I'm in the car driving, and again, just, you know, epiphany just hit me. It's like, optimal primes, because I'm trying to optimize. It wasn't that difficult. Like, obviously I come up with names in it. So I'm just like, I'm trying to optimize these primes. So I was like, these are the prime, this is the essence, these are the prime. So it's like optimal prime. The main character in Transformers is called Optimus Prime. Transformers comes out that same week, and I see it, and it's called Transformers 1. It's called Transformers 1. My whole system is about oneness. I've called the system optimal primes knowing that Optimus Prime, and I know the story behind Transformers as well. Like I know its origin story. Like I used to be into that, like growing up, and I've watched quite a lot of films, like the latest, like the remakes and stuff. So I understand the origin. That film is very, very, very metaphysical. Anyone seen those films? There's so much metaphysics in that. It's unbelievable. Like I could talk about that film for days. So, and it comes out with the oneness, talking about oneness. Optimus, Transformers 1. And then I go watch it like on this weekend. I went and watched it on this weekend, and yeah, film's incredible. Film, the film did exactly what it was supposed to do. So yeah, real happy with that. Feelings of awe. So that's feelings of awe. And then what we're saying that basically is the feelings of that feeling of euphoria. Anyone that's felt like oneness, anyone that kind of speaks about those kind of things, it's indescribable. Quite honestly, these feelings are indescribable. Quite honestly, like words, there are no words that does it justice. If anyone's ever experienced oneness, to even, I don't know, because obviously I've only experienced how I've experienced it, and I've only read about how I've read about it. But I feel like what I read about is what people experience. I don't know, Again, words are, you're always losing information anytime you use words. So there's a feeling, we put those feelings into words, we translate those feelings into words. There is a loss of energy, just to be clear. So my word awe is almost like one of those ineffable words where it's just like, it's almost indescribable, but you get those shivers, you get those tingles, you get, all of those things. And so I get that whenever I get those synchronistic moments, like the ones that hit me, like when I come up with optimal primes, or I saw this chart and I just saw this vision of these 20 things, just wrote them out in 60 seconds, just like boop, 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 downloads, light code frequencies just downloaded into me, boom, 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 boom. I'll know it hits if I get that feeling of awe. That's like a signature. But again, I could be speaking personally. Maybe some people feel cold and dead, but I feel alive when God is speaking to me directly, communicating with me directly. I feel alive. And then once you master feeling, you master rhythm. You master rhythm. So we're basically saying that all of these things here, as in synchronicity especially, again, understanding the meaning, getting meaningful connections by using the gift of synchronicity, also conquering these observation and absorption. In terms of a skill, in terms of the technique, I would say this technique here, mastering the methodologies and the techniques and the exercises of observation and absorption, both of them will allow you to master rhythm. So the technique is what allows you to unlock the mastery. So this high attainment level is when you're living in rhythm, what some people call divine timing. Not linear timing, divine timing, by the way. When you're living in rhythm, when you're living in flow, like, when you're living in flow, tunnel vision level, that's when you get to that mastery level of oneness, because you're just seeing everything as one, like Neo in the Matrix, basically. You're just seeing the code play out live in real time because you've got the gift of synchronicity and you're able to make meaningful connections, which then drive your purpose. Do you see how this all links together? Like these are basically like formulas. So in the long version of this, which I'm definitely not going to do now, like, which I don't even know how I could share that. But basically in the long version of this, it's like a workbook. And these become, each one of these individual things become formulas or ingredients to recipes to unlock certain keys. Like I've went mad with this. Like I've just taken this to like some nice level that I'm starting to play about with. And then we then come to the reward and the promise. And the reward and promise. So I'm basically saying, yeah. So I'm going to take a deep breath times because yeah, I definitely need half an hour to explain some of these things. Basically, this return to source, this has been probably my biggest revelation. I've been speaking about it with my cousin Shane, and it's been my biggest revelation over the past 2 weeks, or since I come back from Thailand, basically, and then done all of this work. So I did this work this took me about a couple of days to just get this all down, patent. And then this whole idea of this promise thing is just, I've just been contemplating on this promise. What does it mean to return to source? And source is another word. I could have just said return to one, basically. I could have just said return to one, but the more common phrase in the spiritual community is return to source. It's a very common phrase. So I just went with a common phrase, but this could easily be return to oneness. Return to oneness. And so when you return to source, you get the reward of peace. So why you would want to go to the promised land is because the promised land is peaceful. The promised land is peaceful. Kind of ties in with obviously the whole rest in power. So rest in power, rest in peace. In my model, it's rest in peace. Rest in power is for something else. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to discuss it today. If you go down the line of rest in power, you've got a different model. It's simple. You could keep this model like 95%, but you'd have to take out. I mean, I could just get to it real. You'd have to take out observation. You wouldn't need observation as a key thing. In order to return to source, you need observation. You don't need observation for returning to power. If your idea was to return to power, like this all-powerful being. Yeah. Again, anyone got questions? Let me know. Anyone got questions? Let me know. So we've definitely done. We're doing pretty well for time. Just doing a little time check. I'm not gonna have any breaks today. I'm just gonna go straight through. You know, you drop off when you drop off. You know, we still got people in the live chat. So, you know, thank you very much for being with me at this, still with me at this time. Obviously this will be uploaded at another time. But I'm just gonna switch my phone on now. I'm not sure if it will start. Sorry, I'm just switching on my phone. If it starts, it starts. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But yeah, probably won't. I might get that kind of rocking again in a second, but I'll just leave it for now. Charge. So yeah, lessons learned as always. All right, cool. At 26 minutes mark. All right, cool. We'll just let that pop for a little bit. All right, cool. All right, yeah. So based on time, I'm gonna go through. Stimulation theory. I can do that. I can do that in half an hour. I can do that in half an hour. All right. All right. This is big. This is like my master thesis. Like, so for about a year, my favorite podcast is a podcast called The Theory of Everything. Like in terms of like a new podcast, like I just came out of nowhere. So maybe for about a year, 9 months, I've been listening to this podcast called The Theory of Everything. It's just pure science and physicists. So I'm simplifying. I'm not going to go into like their level, but basically they're all scientists and physicists, and they come up with their models of how the world works. You can kind of see how that has like motivated what I've done. A lot of it unconsciously. I was just really interested. I'm just interested in this kind of stuff. So I wasn't actually looking to do anything with it. It was just my pastime, YouTube listening, basically. I found it fascinating. But definitely, clearly, it was in the background stimulating, you know, how I see the world. How do I actually really see the world? Can I put it down on paper and does it actually make sense? Because, you know, these people are like some of the most brightest people on the planet, and they're sharing their theories of how they see the universe working. And, you know, some I agree with, some I disagree with. Obviously, that's just natural. So, you know, more to the point, what's my theory? How do I see the world? And so, yeah, I'm not going to go into the whole story of how it hit me because, you know, I want to try and do this in half an hour. But essentially, I built this about 3 months ago. I don't know, time flies. 2 to 3 months ago, I built this, and the key was how I understood time. I wasn't even trying to work out a theory for everything. The thing is that I wasn't even trying to do this. I basically got information about a new paper that came out about how time worked. And then when I understood this theory on time, this new theory on how time actually really works, it blew my mind so much. It blew my mind. And then when it settled down, it just clearly saw how the universe works, because I now had a confirmed understanding of time through science. So let's just say I had maybe a feeling on it and I had these different feelings, but science just confirming, no, this is how time actually works, just allowed me to just go deeper. This is what clarity is like. Just allowed me to go deeper and then get, you know, what I believe are certain layers of truth. One aspect, one perspective of truth. I'm not saying it's the only perspective. It's called a theory. The minute you write something down on paper, you've lost information. Just remember that. The minute you write something down, you've lost information. The minute you speak, you've lost information. That's why you should shut up more, speak less, go into that silence. But anyway, this was the first thing I drew. So basically, I drew. So it came to me as a vision, essentially. It just came to me as like an image, how the universe works. And I basically started with this. I was just like, oh, the universe works. Because I already had the universe works to know itself. I already had that. The universe works to know itself. So the universe works to know itself. I had that, but I didn't know that science. I thought that was just a metaphysical argument that's been around for a long time. I didn't make that. That's been around for a while. But I didn't know that there was a scientific method of showing that the universe works to know itself. So there was basically a series of lectures that I'd listened to that broke down the science behind it, which was just mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing, basically. And so it just starts with basically this guy called Phil Valentine, who some may know on this call, some may not know. But there's a guy called Phil Valentine who, for me, I consider one of the master teachers, definitely one of my master teachers, and like a legend in the game. And he said this off-cut remark about 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. And he was like, the universe asks questions of itself. No, he didn't say that. Sorry. He said, everyone comes down here to answer a question. I'd never heard it being put like that in terms of like how the universe. I've never heard, even since I've never, ever heard anyone, in the hundreds of people I've listened to, even thousands, or even thousands probably by now, I've never heard anyone say that phrase or even speak about that. He said this offshoot comment, didn't even justify it. The wise only need a hint. But I just remember him saying, everyone comes down here to answer a question. That was his kind of like purpose of like why. But he didn't explain it too much. He explained it a little bit, but like not fully, like a little 2-minute kind of explanation, whatever. So based on that premise, what would be that question? So then what kept him in mind? Because he never said it either. What is that question then? So the epiphany started with me getting that question. So if the universe works to answer itself and it's about knowledge and knowing itself, it must have had a question, who am I? It must have had the question, who am I? Because we definitely know that the answer is I am. Well, I won't say we definitely know, but like, you know, in the Bible, you know, who are you, God? I am that I am. I am that I am. Basically, I am. Who? So I am is a realization. That's not, it doesn't start with I am. It started with a question, who am I? I am is the answer. So I'm basically saying that the universe came into existence literally. In my mind, it almost works like the universe, there became this self-aware aspect of the universe where it becomes aware of itself. And again, it's a metaphor, but you kind of just got to walk with it. It realizes it exists. It realizes it knows itself. It can basically perceive itself. It has perception. The perception realizes it's this thing. It comes as a feeling, but the feeling doesn't come as I am. The feeling comes as who am I? It's excited by the who am I. It's excited to discover who it is. And so when I'm saying the word discover, I'm basically saying it from the principle that you can only know yourself. This is so key, people. You can only know yourself through experience. You can read about it in books, that's one level. You can debate it, that's another level. You can logically rationalize it, that's another level. The highest level comes from experience. So the universe has to exist because it has to experience the I am. It has to experience life. You can't experience life through books. You can get to a certain level there, imagination, so on and so forth. Obviously, these are aspects of a conscious being. But to truly realize self-actualization, to truly realize oneself, you have to experience life. And so it needed to create a template, a framework, a model, what most people call a universe in which it could exist, in which it could go from theory to realization, to study itself, to experience itself. Reading about the most beautiful beach and the most beautiful place on the planet creates what? Desire. So when the Buddhists say that desire is the beginning of all suffering, I get it now. Well, I got it before, in fairness, but 1% clarity, I get it now. So yes, we are the universe. That's why I call my thing the U-verse. I call it the U-verse. It's kind of like we're the mini C. But when you go into oneness, the boundaries between who you are and who I am and self and not self are just so blurred that you just have to see it as oneness. Because the distinction points, because, oh, you're like you because you breathe a different way, or you're like you because you look a different way, or you're like you because you smell a different way. When you understand us at a prime essence level, reductionist level, you basically see a melting pot. And that melting pot I'm choosing to call oneness. So who am I then goes into the I am. Now, if we take this back into life, the beauty of life is that life will smash you in the face, absolutely smash you in the face and knock you in the six, knock you for six when you're not living righteously, when you're not living in your truth. So that I am is that truth moment, that realization moment. And then God, and then source, or then itself, or then the universe is going to question itself. Am I really? It's going to throw something. That's what chaos is. It's going to throw a surprise random event that's going to test whether you really are who you say you are. Can you stand that test? Are you really that thing that you're claiming to be? Is it seeded and rooted in ego, this thing that you so tightly hold on to, this thing that you so clearly hold on to? Yes, so our life is our verse. But what is the song that you're telling yourself? What is the song that you're singing to yourself? Yeah, what is the song that you're singing to yourself? Is it ringing true? Does it really ring true when stood up against life, all that life has to throw against you? Because if not, you've come up with a version of self that was rooted in something else. You attached yourself to something else. So God, so God, so source, so life is going to throw the I am. Who am I? Curiosity. Yeah. Who am I is the curiosity. The I am is that living, that being. And then the am I is that questioning, that self-reflection. So life is a cycle. What we're saying with this basically is that life is a cycle. You can read this. Even someone the other day read all three ways of seeing this cycle. One, this is the infinity sign. Yeah. This is the infinity sign. Two, this is creation. One cell creating its second cell to observe itself. And then two, this is the spectacle. That's why you got this line going from there to there. You got the I am, and then you got the reverse. And I couldn't help myself with the colors. That's the scientific stuff. That's basically that's showing the wavelengths. So you go from, if you look at a rainbow, it goes from red to blue or red to violet. So that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing the dimensions. You're seeing the full range, i.e. the modulation in my system. You're seeing the full modulation, because you have to experience life in its fullest to truly realize that I am. How would you know who you are if you haven't tested yourself? Can you really stand the test of time? As an infinite being, can you stand the test of time? Ask yourself that one. As an infinite being, can you stand the test of time? So that's what I basically did. Like, this was just like I kind of wrote on my phone. So I got like a note phone, you know, with a pen. So I did this on my pen. Boom, one vision, done. And then later, obviously the Blue Peter version, boom, this is what it looks like, polished, you know, the Soul Noble way, the process for transformation. And so I'm not going to go fully into this stimulation theory, because like I said, I've only got, I want to give myself half an hour for it. But essentially, we go from the who am I, to the I am, to the who am I. Oh, right, I just see I've made a spelling mistake. That should obviously be who am I, and then am I. So yeah, there's a spelling mistake there. So now this is science. Like, this is not me. Like, so when I was learning about how the universe works, or what life actually is, so I'm listening to, like, I didn't want to say how much hours I've listened to, like, understanding what this thing called life actually is, like, a lot of hours. But anyway, I found this one guy basically who basically is like the world leader. And he's the world leader because he's the most cited. Like, I don't even know how I only heard about him last year or maybe this year. And then now I can't listen to someone without quoting him. Like, everyone just quotes this guy. This guy is like the G. It's like the G. He's the most cited scientist in the world, basically. And he's come up with something called the free energy principle. It's not how it sounds for people that are into like zero energy. Yeah, it's not how it sounds. So I'm not going to go into it fully, but all I'll say is that he's a scientist. He's not like a believer in infinite beings and conscious beings, and that the consciousness is principle and fundamental to the universe. He's not like that, like I am. But his model is great enough for me to just add my own flavors to it and just work it out from a metaphysical perspective. So and it fits perfectly with my system. So the universe is generated from that excitation, that curiosity. So the universe is driven by curiosity. Curiosity is what drives it for the promise of self-actualization, so it can know itself. And then it goes and explores, like I said, this whole exploration through the I am. Because once you become the I am, you become confident. You test yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, right, look at me, I'm the strongest kid in class. So then you go punch that kid that's 5 years older than you. You get beaten up. Are you really? That would be the I am. The hubris of the I am. You know, that exploration. Through that comes the wisdom, because you're learning through experience. So it's driven by love. The key is that the desire don't matter now, to have a thing in it. But yeah, so the desire is driven by love. Love. So love is what drove the universe into existence, that curiosity. We then get the wisdom through the experience, and then we get the who am I is that challenge, that opposition. And so I'm saying that some people, they haven't learned the skill of life in terms of understanding how to navigate and pivot, duck and dive, do whatever it takes basically to keep on moving. So what we're saying is that you're going to come into opposition, and what's going to dictate your progress or your exploration is your ability to navigate, or what they use basically. That's their word. This is their word. They use the word exploitation. Your ability to exploit, manipulate the situation to your desired outcome, so you can continue living and exploring. So I'm using that skill as power. So I'm saying that my three holy grails, the three things that underpin my holy grail, is love, wisdom, and power. And you need all three. Two of them is not enough. You need all three. you know, love is the answer, but like, you know, it's kind of nuanced. It's an answer in a particular way. It's an excitation. It's an answer, but it's not the strategy. We need a strategy. So then the power would be the strategy. The exploitation is the strategy. So what is your strategy for life? Okay, you got some wisdom. Okay, you got some love. But what is your strategy for life? And so, you know, when you're looking at these places, like, where are you falling down? Like, think about where your life is falling down. Where do you kind of fall in? Is it mainly at the passion level, which is obviously about purpose? Is it mainly about the wisdom level? Are you not able to synthesize information, synchronize information, work out what's going on? Do you not have the skill level? Have you not learned enough of the, have you not acquired enough power, like literally energy, to move down that brick that's in your way? So, and then obviously it fits into my, not obviously, it's not like I've showed many people this, but yeah, so it fits into my the code, design, and divine model in which I teach. So I always teach in 3 steps. So I decode things first, then we design, then we divine. Divine just basically means be, that I am, essentially. So once you've obviously designed a model, once you've decoded how the world works, so you guys are going to look, you're going to see how the universe works, you're going to come up with your own model, use my model, whatever, tweak my model. I'm not fussed. I'm going to share a link. I'm going to upload my model to a Google Drive, or I'll put it in the community notes or something like that in YouTube, somewhere on social, and people can just have it for free. Do with it what you will. Or come up with your own system, or just use it as inspiration to come up with your own system. Design your own system and then live it. Test it out. Does it work? What are your rewards? What are your fruits? There should be fruits. There needs to be fruits. There needs to be tangible fruits. It's not, we're not bullshitting people. You know, we're way past that now. So that's the science. Yeah, so that's the stimulation theory. I don't think I'm gonna go too much more into it now. Yeah, that's a half year, so that'll be one of the half-an-hour videos. Yeah, that'll be one of the half-an-hour videos that I do when I just break down stimulation. So I'll break it down again on a bit more of a technical level. Like, I've kept it real simple. Like, I'm not going to start explaining Markov blankets and solenoids, deflation, irreducibility, Clarke's 3 laws, 4E cognition, qualia and AI, anima mundi. I'm just kind of showing off at these big words. The beautiful loop. Oh my days, what a great theory. The beautiful loop. Autopiosis. I mean, I could do that one though. I'll do this one. This is the only one I'll do, because this is, the word's big, but it's not that deep. It basically just means self-creation. So it's about understanding how the universe replicates itself by creating a copy of itself through things like the Fibonacci sequence, or adding, or doubling, or tripling. This is like the secrets to the universe, which are so simple. I literally just said the secret to the universe is in adding and doubling. The mathematics of the universe is a maths. Then its secrets are found in doubling, tripling, and replicating itself, which is basically the Fibonacci sequence. And yeah, so but you have to do it coherently. Again, a cancer is basically is a cell that is diseased, that has become incoherent, that has lost its light, that's lost its energy, doesn't have the power, doesn't have the wisdom, as in it's lost its code, it's lost the wisdom, it's lost its connection with source, which is coherence, and is now replicating disease. So it's this self-eating itself. And I'm saying that light is information. So light is information. So it's lost the information, it's lost the code, it's lost its connection. And so now it replicates in disharmony, it replicates in disease, it replicates in ignorance through either a lack of love, a lack of wisdom, or a lack of power. And so it's cancerous. So how would we treat cancer? How would we treat something that's incoherent? obviously it would be to reverse. The universe is real simple. It would be to reverse it with an equal and opposite force. So it would need some love, some wisdom, or some power. It's quite simple. Yeah, like I said, I'm quite happy with what I've done. Like, I'm kind of wrapping up now. I've really respected my time for once. Yeah, like a chapter in a book. Yeah, absolutely. I create my story. I create my story. This is the key. You have to be able to understand your story. Oh man, I feel like, you know, I feel like I'm at a 0.1% level of frustration, 0.1% level of frustration, because I would love to show you my t-shirt that I'm wearing. I'd love to show you my t-shirt that I'm wearing. I'm going to click one button. If this doesn't work in 10 seconds, then I'm just going to leave it, like it's getting late. But I'm just going to, if people just allow me, I'll click one button to see if I can restart. So my phone is actually on. It's actually on. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not fussed. All right, cool. It'd be nice to go halfway, but it's cool. All right, button. Why do you not do that for? And then go to the Droid phone. So yeah, yes, thanks for using Droid. All right, we got it working. Yeah, I probably should have stopped it. It's fine though. No one needs to see my face. No one needs to see my face. All right, cool. Turn the camera around. That would help. Boom. All right. So we're just having fun right now. I'm going to wrap up with like a synchronicity story again, because it's like everything is about rhythm. So I'm basically saying that I'm trying to master rhythm and divine timing. And so synchronicity. And I'm like, so I said I wanted the gift of meditation. And I've decided to not share my meditation stories too much. Just made a personal decision not to share them too much. But essentially, in one of my experiences in this meditation, this word comes to me, this sentence comes to me: love this. It just came out of nowhere. Love this. I was literally in silence. Love this. Like, cryptic. Cool, lovely. Starting to the code. Took me about, I came out of the meditation because I wanted to stay in the meditation. I kind of left it to the side, but I was like, I'll remember it later. It's cool. I don't just let it go. Again, it's meditation, in it. Just let it go. Just let thoughts come and go. But I knew it was big. Come out of the meditation, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, that answers the question that my number one question I ask myself in any situation when I can remember, when I'm in my observer mode, which is, what would unconditional love do? I've had this for like 2 years, maybe 3 years, 2 to 3 years, definitely 2 years at least. What would unconditional love do? And I realized that love this was the answer. What would unconditional love do? So if I'm becoming unfazed, i.e., any situation I should be able to be unfazed, be able to deal with, become anti-fragile, robust, unbreakable, unshakable, unfazed. They're kind of all similarish words. They have kind of different meanings, but we get the gist of it. I should be able to love this, i.e., love this in any moment. Love whatever that thing that I'm observing. Love this as the observer in any moment. So that was the first profound thing that happened to me in Thailand. That was like the most, I knew that was the most powerful thing that I was taking from Thailand, like when it came, because that's like a question I asked myself 3 years ago and I got an answer, or 2 years later I get an answer in Thailand in a meditation. And the only desire I had in Thailand spiritually was to say, I want to not master meditation, but I want to learn the skill of meditation, like just get on the starting ropes of it. And I get that. I then go, so then the last day we go to Bangkok, and last day, so I'm doing shopping, like, for myself, and like, getting bits and pieces. I haven't done any shopping. Well, actually, I've been to the shop, but not done much shopping. It was the first time I was actually going to get some stuff that was on my mind. The first shop I see, clothes shop in Thailand, I see this, I'm just like literally just in my face, whoop. It's like, love this. I've never even heard that as a phrase. I've never even heard anyone say that as a phrase before. Never in my life have I heard anyone ever say that as a phrase before. And I go walk, and it's a dope t-shirt as well. Like, I love this. It's your glow in the dark t-shirt. It's got 3D things on it. I've never seen a t-shirt like it in my life. It's got like 3D bits coming off of it, like metal bits. This t-shirt's mad. You know, confirmations from the universe. So, you know, this is just like me ending the video wanting to whet people's appetite to, I wouldn't even say get to these levels, because I don't really care what path you do. Like, I do have care, but I just want you to have a path that you believe in 100%, that is coherent and can stand the test of infinite time. That's my desire for the people that are going to go on this journey with me, because, you know, just like, obviously we're getting to the end, so I'm kind of sharing more like personal insights, but I'm always going to be a better student than I am going to be a teacher. So a lot of my procrastination is because I ain't got time to teach, because I need to learn. I'm still growing, I'm still moving, I've still got, you know, visions for myself. So teaching kind of just gets put on the sideways, even though I learn through teaching as well. You know, I say that, and that is true. That's so true. But that's what I want for my students, for any students, for anyone that is inspired by this video or by this series, because obviously we're going to break this down in more detail. Like, I'm going to give you the tools, I'm going to give you the formulas, I'm going to give you the codes. Like, I'm going to share with you a lot. But again, any information I share, this is just so clear in my mind now. Any information I share, there will be a loss of information. So it takes one conscious being in resonant harmony with another conscious being in resonant harmony to make a meaningful connection. We need to be vibing at the same frequency or octave. Just one. So 0.1 is the same as 1, is the same as 100, is the same as 1,000, is the same as 10,000, is the same as 1,000,000. Just to be clear. So these are levels of magnitude, orders of magnitude, but they're on the same note. Like, again, just think about life as music. Think about life as music. Think about a piano key. Visualize a piano key and think about that letter C, for example. So on the piano key, there's a few letters, there's a few notes of the C on an 88 keyboard. 88 being my number. Oh yeah, so we're gonna keep this basic today. So anyway, 88 keys on a standard piano, on a full-size piano. And so that C will always sound like a C. So when we're talking about coherence, it's like, how can you scale something up? This is the key. How do you scale something up, or how do you compress something down and keep the same coherence? Keep its integrity. Like, I don't know if anyone's following me on my shorts, but my first short I did after coming back from Thailand was about integrity. Like, I did this whole channel. Anyway, it was about integrity, basically. How do we keep our integrity on a moving mountain? So we're all trying to climb to this mountain, but this mountain is moving. It's moving. It's so hard to keep in flow with life. And anytime we break our flow, we're basically breaking that divine connection with the universal one. And so it's so important to, as much as possible, practice staying in flow. And it's not a euphoric oneness. That would be a high level of the octave, isn't it then? So if we're thinking about this rhythm and this scale, we're saying that when you experience this so-called oneness, these experiences where you see like just everything is connected, and it's just so hard to describe, but you just experience it. That would be the dial of coherency, of flow, of oneness turned up to 1,000. Let's just say that's why I explained it. I was like, it was like life was amplified by 1,000 degrees, or by 1,000%. That's how I kind of saw it. But I'm saying that that low level, that low latency, that low level version of oneness is synchronicity, is meaningful connections. That's the low level, daily, no one would even notice, no one would be none the wiser, but internally you're seeing it all. You're seeing the one, you're seeing the all, and it's the same. You can't distinguish between the one and the all. It becomes paradoxical. It becomes paradoxical almost. Like the greatest truths are a paradox. There's a quote somewhere. I'm not going to pull it out, but yeah, the greatest quotes are a paradox. The greatest quotes don't make sense because they shouldn't be able to be explained. That's why we have to go into science. Like quite honestly, that I was trying to say like the trip wasn't transformative. My missus was like, "Oh, how was the trip?" Or people, I was like, "Yeah, it was a minor." Like I was talking about spiritual, everyone knows what I'm on. I was like, "Oh, it was a minor, it was a minor." I didn't really, nothing really happened. This was especially our first couple of days. I was like, "Oh, it was a minor." But yeah, I basically underestimated meditation. That's just basically it. Just in a nutshell, that whole trip was about me understanding meditation. But I tell you why though. And I'll tell you why, and I'll leave it with this, because this is powerful. This is basically powerful. This goes back to the model. I underestimated meditation because I didn't see the promise in it. I didn't see its promise. I never saw the fruits of its labor, of why I would need to meditate. And I'm talking about that meditate when you go into like nothingness. I never saw the potential. I never saw why. I never really had the why. And anyone knows that I don't lift a finger unless I have a solid why, unless I want to do it for exploration. But you know, it's even the point. So anyway, my whole point is I've now got the why. What I realized is with that oneness, and I had this epiphany or realization about 8 months ago, and I shared it with my brother, and I was like, me and you are on the same octave. We're just at different ends of the spectrum. So my brother's a monk. For anyone that doesn't know, he lives in a monastery. That's why I went to Thailand. So I lived in a monastery for 7 days, only 7 days. No, whatever. But yeah, lived in a monastery for 7 days with my brother, or stayed with my brother. If my brother went out a monastery, I'm not staying there. So I'm only there because of my brother. But I'm kind of living a monk lifestyle because there's nothing else to do. It's like in a remote place, whatever. So I've said to him on the phone, like in a contemplation, I was like, oh yeah, boom. You're experiencing the divine through the nothingness cycle, going into nothingness. So you're experiencing the source as the nothingness. And me, and that nothingness, all I was there asking the monk was, are you guys anti-life? That's all I was asking the monks. That's basically what it came down to. I wasn't even, it took me a while to work out what I was trying to ask. I was asking these long, real convoluted questions, and I was going back and forth. But really, when it came down to the essence, I was like, are you guys anti-life? Because you talk about the nothingness like it's the only thing that you should be trying to go for. So are we trying to like essentially kill ourselves? And I'm talking about like the spiritual self, like as in you don't want to exist, because they've got this big word called cessation. This was the book, by the way. This was the book. So this was the book that I chose, or my pendulum chose. So obviously, I'm into pendulums. So my brother had like 8, 9 books. Yeah, my brother had like 8 or 9 books. So I went to the library. I went to his library, and he's got like 43 books that you could just take. And so I chose about 6 or 7 of them. And so on the plane, I wanted a book to read. I didn't read the plane in the book, but I read it like a couple of days after. and it was this book. And so this book, dependent origination, was the book that had the cycle, their 12-step cycle. And yeah, so anyway, in that, basically it talks about cessation, and it talks about the one. Yeah, I know I'm not frozen now. Thank you very much for confirming that. Thank you. So it talks about basically nothingness, returning to nothingness. And nothingness, you got to remember, lost in translation. Things get lost in translation. So I'm like, are you guys talking about not existing? And quite honestly, that's where there's a split in Buddhism. And I don't need to go into it now, but let's just assume that there are people that actually are saying, no, our goal is to not exist. That is actually a goal for people in Buddhism, but not for all, just to be clear. And I'm like, I'm not on that, because I'm about the allness. So I'm like I'm about experiencing the source, about the allness. That's why I'm so like diverse. Anyone that knows me, I'm very like diverse. I love trying new things. I don't want to try the same thing twice. I just want to experience. I'm like a lover of life. So I was like, I'm a lover of life. And so computers are built off of the binary code of the 0 and the 1. And so the 0 would obviously represent the nothingness, and the 1 represents the allness, i.e. creation. So the 0 represents potential energy, and the 1 represents realized energy, i.e. the I am. The I am would be the 1, not the 0. The 0, there's no words. There's this. It's ineffable. There's no substance to it. Substance like the 1, again, you know, you have to kind of, the wise only need a hint, please. So I was like, I've basically went through the lane of mastering the 1. That's why even my system is called oneness. I was even just getting these. I got this. So I was explaining this to my brother about 8 months ago. And then the epiphany that came is that really I'm missing one side of the coin. I've basically lived my life not fully, but mainly focusing on the allness, the number 1. And I'm like, in order to master life, especially with my system and just how I'm seeing it now, and then also these latest teachings and just these latest understandings on what it actually means to like nothingness. I never really understood it before. Again, this will take a long time to explain. I've like, this will be one of those half-an-hour videos where I just explain what nothingness actually is. Because I think there's so much misdirection and confusion, and I'm being confused. I've been listening about nothingness for a decade, and I'm still wasn't quite sure on what they meant. But you know, I feel like I see it clearly now. And also experienced it to such a small degree, but the wise only need a hint. I feel like I experienced it for like 0.1 second, but it was enough. It was enough. It was enough. Like if I don't experience it again, it was enough. So anyway, whatever. So now I'm like, I want to master the 10. So if you're talking about like recycling, the challenge is to master the allness and master the nothingness. Well, this is me personally. It's a hard task. I've like literally got to restart my whole life again. I won't say that, but yeah, like whatever, tweaks, fine tuning. But my whole point is mastering the allness, mastering the nothingness. I think on your screen it'll come like this. So I could have just done that. Anyway, 10. So my whole point is that is what true balance would be, in my opinion. So I'm still not on this Buddhist vibe of nothingness being the ultimate goal. But I understand why they said it's the ultimate goal, because the 0 comes before the 1. So I'm not going to argue it anymore. I see clearly why you would. And so basically, in the ordering system of Buddhism, oneness is level 3. Nothingness is level 4, as in the complete level. True heaven, true nirvana is nothingness. And that allness, that euphoria that some people get from I don't know, a great party or psychedelics or a really powerful prayer, that would be that oneness. The nothingness is like this silence, basically. Let's just say silence. So I'll explain why in another video. I'll do that, one of those kind of teasers that people do, because I'm going to wrap up now, because I said 10 o'clock and I went over by 10 minutes just sharing my own personal story. But yeah, I'm going to explain why nothingness is actually really an amazing goal, and like why I now see the beauty in it. Like I never saw the beauty in it. It just wasn't beautiful. It just seemed real, I don't know, boring. In a nutshell, to someone that's experienced the allness and that lives for the allness, it just seemed really boring. So now it doesn't. Like I desire the nothingness, and that is like a massive flip or addition in my own personal life. So yeah, if anyone wants to subscribe, follow, like this video, click the notification button, especially for this playlist. I'm gonna, you know, when I do the second video, I'll put it into a playlist. This series, this Infinite Series, which again, like I said, is about how you transform into being the infinite being. If anyone wants to check out my what I'm actually doing with the website, which has got the divination tool, you can go to SOULGNO. I've got a video as well. Which I'll click on the end of this video, which goes into the SOULGNO system basically. Because like I said, the SOULGNO system, I had to kind of stop it now, because you kind of see it, because I was like, basically I had this problem, which was, why am I just going to focus on divination for when it's literally just one of 20 things that I'm into or that I'm trying to teach? And so I just felt uncomfortable going fully in on divination and then just becoming this guy that's only known for divination, or just being this thing that only speaks about divination, when, you know, it's only a part of my world. It's a key tool in my world. It plays a vital role. But, you know, I am the model. We are the model. So choose your universe wisely, because it will define who you are, who you're going to be, and who you was when we start getting into time, which again will be on maybe the next part 2, basically. So with that, I really do appreciate everyone being here. Yeah, it's a journey, man. We're about to go on a journey. So yeah, hopefully people enjoyed that. And yeah, leave a comment as well if you want to. But yeah, peace out, love, and have a good night. One. One. All right, end stream. Thank you too. Thank you too. All right, end stream. Your stream will stop immediately. Yeah, I'm doing things for the first time, and you will know it'll be on green live. Yep, cool.